Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, sometimes you just like saying a guy's name. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I am the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide ranging variety of industry professionals and pick their brains about current projects, state of the industry, what they got going on, life in general. Just very conversational, very laid back. It's how we do it. But if you'd like to subscribe to this podcast, and we certainly hope that you do, please follow us over at Apple, at Spotify, and you can find all of our episodes archived over on our YouTube channel. We'd love it if you check us out on social media as well for all our updates, either at In the Seats or at It's Podcast One on either Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And finally, please visit us over at intheseats.ca, where our hardworking team is pumping out reviews and news and all sorts of other good stuff about all the latest fare for you to watch while sitting on lockdown, wherever you may be, in what various stage you are, leaning on the stories that we all love so much, and that's an important thing, and we hope you're doing exactly that. But on this episode, we talked to a man who's a working actor, who's a real sort of well trained, sort of grinded out kind of guy in the Hollywood scene. We're talking to Zeus Mendoza. I just love saying the name Zeus. His real name is Jesus. But we talked to Zeus about a film that he's working on now, among other things. But it's called Heroes of the Golden Masks. It's an animated feature from Arcana Studios, and it's one of those. It's a fantasy fair, and it's gonna end up somewhere. I don't know where, but it's a real it's an animated fantasy adventure that looks like a hell of a lot of fun from some of the sneak peeks that I got to take a look at. And we talked to Zeus about that, about sort of the differences between acting on stage and acting in a booth, and uh, sort of the importance of diversity and mixing it up and just making all sorts of interesting stuff happen, and just trying to understand the importance of story, especially in this times when there's a lot of people who sort of need those stories to uplift them and comfort them, and that's the whole point of telling stories, to be able to do that sort of thing. And Zeus is a real thoughtful and interesting guy, and I hope you enjoy our conversation, because I know I did. Cool. All right. Well, I mean, obviously, first off, congratulations. I mean, this movie sounds like a lot of fun. Like, walk me through a little bit of it. It really. It's just by reading the synopsis, I'm like, shit. This sounds like it's gonna be kind of cool.
Doesn't it sound cool? Yeah, yeah. I was really excited, and especially after I talked to and met, Sean O'Reilly. But yeah, no, it's a wonderful little story, man, and I fell in love with the graphics. The when I first saw the audition come in, and I saw the graphics, and I saw that then, but it's an epic fantasy adventure. Um, and it tells the story of a modern day teenager who's magically transported back in time to this mysterious um, lost city, you know, and it's inspired by the ancient masks of China's province, I think, Sanxing Dui, which were
Oh, okay.
yeah, which was I think these masks were actually discovered some of the I want to say the 80s, but I'm not sure. But they date back to the China's Bronze Age, back like thousands of years ago. Probably I'd say about 3,000 or so years ago.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, and then but it's a modern kind of take on it. It's a modern story of
Okay.
this young kid, going back in time and kind of um, being caught up in that whole thing.
That sounds wild, man. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things because I mean, to be able to take a part in it, like in these adventure things that you couldn't possibly film, but you have to animate and sort of do it that way. It's got to be sort of, as an actor, sort of a bit of a trip to be able to sort of go outside yourself, to go into these different kind of places.
It is, man. And you know what? I mean that's why we do what we do, right? It's the magic of it's the imagination. It's the magic of going places and doing things that, normally you wouldn't be able to do. But yeah, it's getting into. I love these stories because it kind of they get you into a different world. That it's like a little history lesson, and you get to kind of play in that little playground with all these wonderful actors and voices that kind of lend their voices to projects like this. It's pretty cool.
Now, this is something I'm always kind of curious about. I mean, when you're doing voice work, how does sort of the process change versus being on set? Because I've always got to imagine it's a bit of a different dynamic.
Uh, yeah, yeah. No, it's completely different, man. I mean, listen, I get to show up to my booth or any kind of studio that I go into and jeans or shorts and a t-shirt and not have to impress anybody by how I look. So I get to look like this. I know you get to see me, but your audience doesn't get to see me. So I got all this facial hair right now. It's the COVID hair. Um, but yeah, no, it's different because and it's just for me, I kind of back 20 years ago I started doing voiceover. I got into it, but when I moved to LA. I was primarily an actor, stage actor. Came from the Bay Area. Went to Santa Clara University. Moved to LA because a lot of my friends had moved already, and I decided to stay because I was working in theater and I did a lot of stuff at Berkeley Rep and ACT and all these big theaters in the Bay Area. So I finally came down in 98, I think, and I was going to be an on-camera actor. And then a friend of mine who was working at an agency said, "Hey, they're looking for bilingual talent because my first language is Spanish. Um, and would you come in and read?" I said, "Yeah, sure." I mean, and man, I got to tell you, I fell in love the minute I went in there because it was so freeing just to be able to read a script and just kind of get into a character without having to worry about, impressing 10 people in a room or, at Warner Brothers or Paramount or wherever you are. So it was very freeing, So we get to, as voiceover artists, I think we get to really, we're very fortunate. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, right? It's taken me, it took me a lot of years to kind of really become successful and really, um, get a lot of work, like a lot of jobs, one right after the other. It took a while, but once you're in and you kind of get to know the ropes, and it's just you ease into it, and it's it doesn't hurt that I have just such wonderful agents, and that get me all these opportunities. So it's a lot of fun.
And that's fascinating to me because I mean, for anybody with like a stage background, I like in my mind, I'm almost feeling like being locked in a closet doing voice work feels like
Yeah.
the exact opposite of what you'd want to do.
That is a great point. Yes, yes. So I still have my issues every once in a while with that. As a matter of fact, I was telling my wife the other day. I said, I'm going in the studio again, and sometimes I go in for 2-3 hours at a time, and it's like sometimes it can get a little claustrophobic and get a little. And you're right. It's the opposite of being in front of an audience and doing that thing. But it's like a discipline. It's like it's another thing that you have to develop. And it took me a while. You're right, David. It took me a while to kind of get into that. But once you get into that, you focus on the creative aspect of it and the actual material but no, but every once in a while I try to get back. I mean, back on the stage. I was at Denver Center in December, January, and February doing this show over at the Denver Center, and that was wonderful um, to be able to do a play. That was obviously pre-pandemic, so we're living in crazy times now. We can't
Yeah.
do that stuff, but you know, um, but it's different, man. It's an adjustment, but it's one that you just I have to kind of something's got to click in my mind every time I go in the booth and do it.
Well, I would imagine that's part of the process too, because I mean, I'm so, at least in my mind, conditioned that if you're on stage, you've got an audience. Even if you're on set, there's people around. At most, you've got probably two or three people on the other side of the glass that you're technically performing for. It's,
Right.
it's just a weird dynamic for the energy that you have to sort of pull from it.
Very strange. You have to really. You're right. You have to find that energy somehow. And you're not. When you're in a booth alone, it's by yourself. It's kind of tough to find it. But you kind of draw off, like I said, from the material and the direction, and um, I can't imagine because I like to do it all. I like to do TV, film. I like to do voiceover. I like to do stage. I can't imagine just doing one of those three. Those three are kind of combined. They're my lifeline.
Do you think that's how, or maybe one of the formulas to be sort of the quote unquote working actor? Because I mean, you'll get jobs pretty consistently, but you have to sort of be flexible. You have to be adaptable to sort of go out for different kind of things and sort of being able to fit the mold that you need to fit into.
Yes. No, that's true. Yeah, no, I think you have to diversify in anything you do, right? Any job that you do, you have to be able, like if you're in the industry, if you're an actor, you got to be able to know how the lights work. You have to be, I mean, just I can't imagine you have to be able to know what and just to appreciate what goes into making something, right? Doing something,
Yeah.
creating something. You got to know what a director is looking for. You got to know how the camera works. I mean, you don't have to be an expert, but you have to kind of understand how that works. But so you have to, as an actor, you know, um, tap into your creativity. And it's not just, for me, it was more than just stage, that's my first love, my first passion, but it was film, it was TV, it was voiceover, it was writing, um, I mean, I just have to be, I get my juices flowing, when I'm doing something creative. And so, and it comes from different, it has to come from different places, in order to understand. And really, the thing about acting, the thing about not just acting, but the arts, right? Is you have to. It's a journey about kind of understanding who we are, like
Mm.
as a human race, and it's a never ending journey for me process to try to figure out who the hell I am. it's just it's. I mean, I'm not going to get the all the answers, but it really kind of helps me. In being able to, like you said, put yourself in somebody else's shoes and live that life for a little bit. Um,
Well, and it's all variations on storytelling too. And I mean, it's one of those things, especially now these days, we lean on so hard because we get real comfort in them. And I'm just kind of curious, thinking back for you in your career, was there like a moment or like a movie or a play that you saw where sort of the light bulb went off and went, okay, I got to do this?
oh God, it was, yes, it was a couple of them actually. Um, One of them was, I had done in high school. I never did theater, never acted, but I always wanted to try it. I always want, I played sports, so I didn't have the opportunity to do it. But when I got to college, I went in not knowing really what I was going to do. I was taking different courses, business courses, and then just gen eds. And then a friend of mine, because I'm a singer, a friend of mine said, "Hey, they're doing a production of Jesus Christ Superstar this year. You should audition for it." And I thought, yeah, but I'm not really, I haven't really done much. I'm not an actor. I was like the outsider, right? And I went in and I auditioned for it. I prepared, and you know, I I I didn't think anything of it. I prepared and I loved it, but I went in and on the board they put the callbacks, like all the names of the
Mm.
people who got called back for certain position or certain roles. I went in and I saw my name. There are two names under the role of Jesus. So I saw, Tim, my good friend Tim Fullerton, who's a wonderful actor. And then I saw my name underneath. Now my legal name is Jesus, so it's Jesus, right?
Right.
So when these, I showed up backstage. All these kids, all these young people looking at this bulletin board, and they're like, "Holy shit, who the hell is Jesus? He got called back for Jesus." And so we joke we joke now, Tim and I, because when Tim saw that, he's like, I got no shot, dude. I thought I had no shot. He ended up getting the role, right? Because he was wonderful, and he had more he was it was like a fifth year senior, so he was like 3 years older than me. He had been preparing, and he's just a wonderful actor and singer. So he got the role. I did the show. Was one of the apostles, but I fell in love right there. I knew, hey, this feels good. It's I'm making we're making this audience react and laugh and cry, and I thought, man, there's some power in that. You know,
Yeah.
and I fell in love right there, man. That was it, and I switched my major. I said, I'm declaring it. My mom and dad thought I was crazy, but they supported me, and yeah, I mean, the rest is history.
That is the best story ever, by the way. I just have to say. Now, and I mean, it's one of those things because I mean, story is so important, and you seem like a very multifaceted guy and wanting to do different things. I'm curious, is there a screenplay in the desk drawer? Is there sort of the note? Is there a dream to direct for you down the line, or like what do you see going down the line for you?
David, it's almost like I lobbed this one up for you, but for our audience, you have no idea, right? That I'm about this. So the fact that you asked that question is very, very interesting because I do have a script that I wrote, and we're pitching it now. We've been trying to pitch it for the last couple of years, but we're at Netflix.
Very nice.
And I'm the writer, and it's based on a true story of this small town murder in Texas back in 1951, that became a huge case, and it followed on the heels of Brown versus Board of Education. So it's like the Mexican American Selma,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and so yeah. So we're trying to pitch and sell that to Netflix right now. My producing partners and I. So yeah, so I do that, man, and now I'm working on another couple of projects that I'm writing, working on a short, and then working on another possible feature. So I try to dig in and get in there and, just create.
No, I mean, these days, especially given the state of not just the world, but the entertainment world with the streamers and all sort of the access to content out there. I hate calling it content, but you know
Hmm.
what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
sure.
I'm kind of curious, like from your perspective, how do you try to get the cream to rise to the top? Because I mean, from that story you just told me, I mean, I'd love to see that movie. But again, there's so much noise that you have to compete with. How do you sort of filter through that?
Yeah, I think it's just staying focused and finding the truth and the passion of what you do and what you believe in, right? And so if people see and feel that you're passionate about something, they're going to want to come along for the ride, you know. And everybody's got a story. Everyone's got a story. Now, whether everybody's able to tell its story in certain ways, well, that's some people have a little bit more, you know, I don't know how to do that. I'm, I'm doing the best I can. I follow stories that really speak to me. Um, this one really spoke to me, so how does the cream rise to the top? So that you surround yourself with good people, people that believe in your story and that want to come along for the ride. My producers are also really successful producers and actors in the business. So once they fell in love with it and were on board, I was able to kind of get into rooms and have these people these in executive positions really kind of lend me their ear, and talk about what the story's about. And then the rest is just, hey, it's like I said, passion and love for what you do and what you believe in and what you present. It's infectious, and people see that and they want to take the ride with you.
Do you think the years doing voice work has helped you in the pitch room, knowing how to target the captive audience?
No. It's a different beast, right? We're living in a world where the human contact right now, physical contact is just not, it's non-existent really. And I think in this business, we need that, we crave it. I think people in general, just anybody just needs that contact. But we're dealing right with the Zoom thing. I mean, listen, I'd rather have this and do this with you on Zoom than over the phone for sure,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
right? Because I get to see you, I get to see who you are, what your personality is, and so in that sense, we're still kind of seeing people, but it's just hard, we're living in a really, without going into down that rabbit hole, it's just kind of like you just kind of hope and pray that the worst is behind us, and or at least we're almost getting through this, and people are able to get back to work, and too many people are suffering right now with
That's true.
not,
It's
and
absolutely true.
and children especially. I mean, my
Yeah.
children are just, they're missing that contact at school. That's so important for their development.
For you as a performer, how important is it to have that shared experience? Because I mean, obviously on the stage it's instantaneous, but when you're in the booth, there is going to be that delay from getting sort of the reaction to what you've done.
Yeah, so I think, so your question is like, how is it that, or what is it about this business that we're in that kind of floats my boat, or
A little bit,
gets
yeah,
me?
because I mean, the entertainment business has always been a shared experience, be
Mm,
it sort of
mm.
when you're making something or when you're watching something.
Oh yeah.
But right now, there's a bit of a disconnect with that. And I'm just kind
Yes.
of curious, especially given a lot of the voice work that you do, how do you sort of get that creative feedback even when it's on a delay, like something like even just now situationally because of the world, or because, oh, I did this voice 9 months ago and now the movie's finally ready and people can see it.
Yeah, no, it's that's a good question, man. It's really tough, right? You feel so isolated, and as creatives, I mean, we're about the collaborative process, at least in this, in acting, and voiceover work, especially too. Although voiceover work I do a lot from home, but it's collaborative, and so no film or TV show can be made with just the actor, or just the director, or just I mean, you have to be, and especially if you're tapping into emotions and feelings of the other person, you have to really kind of invest, right, in that connection. And I'm really missing that, David. I got to tell you, man, it's I really do miss that. And I just try to reach out to my friends, who are creatives as well, and just and it doesn't matter, the directors, actors, crew guys that I've met along the way, and women, that are in the business, um, that I've worked with along the way, and we just try to we stay in touch, and try to kind of say, hey, we got to look at the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And once we get there, I mean, we've endured a lot, a lot worse, and we're in the business as actors. We put up with a lot. We put up with a lot of rejection, and a lot of, that's, I like to say that when people ask me what I do, I don't say I'm an actor. I say I'm a professional auditioner. I mean, that's what I do. It's like, it's just, I gotta I audition, and then I
I've
gotta
got
let it
way more
go.
experience in that than I do than performing.
Exactly, exactly. So, but we just try to stay. I try to stay in touch with people, and kind of stay positive, and like I say, just stay creative, write, and just be, try to stay in a positive frame of mind, and keep myself healthy physically, mentally. I go on hikes. I spend a lot of time with my
Sure.
kids, that kind of stuff. So we'll get through this, and when we do, it's gonna be wonderful again.
No, you're absolutely right, man. It's an important thing, and especially with like projects that you're working on now. I mean, it helps spread a little bit of joy out there for the world in a time when it's needed. And just to put a bow on this, because we all come into this industry, no matter what the angle is, we all come to it as fans first. And for
Correct.
you,
Absolutely.
because this is a voice, you're a voice actor, this is an animated film. Can you give me sort of, if you had to, your one desert island sort of animated, voice film that you
Oh
couldn't live without?
God. Oh, geez, that's a good one, man. I mean, there are a ton of them. Um, but you know what? I mean, it's okay. So as a kid, obviously you have your favorites. Then you kind of grow up and you go, oh, whether you're a kid or you're an adult, this is a great film. I think the first one that comes to mind is Finding Nemo. I mean, that just
Yeah,
to me was just the story of that was just terrific. The relationship with the dad, and the mom passing away, and then it's a great story. It's great animation. It's for adults, for kids. Um, yeah, I mean that's the one that comes to mind. I mean there are a ton of them, but that's the one that really kind of spoke to me. And then um, I was able to go watch that with my kids and still enjoy it. Enjoy the hell out of it every single time. Another one was Cars. I enjoy that one with my. I
yeah.
must have seen that one like 100 times with my kid. Growing up. Um, yeah, I mean you can't just pick one or two, David. What are you doing? Put me on the spot like that,
I
man.
just saw Soul the other day, and now that's on my list. So
All right,
yeah,
yeah. Oh my god. And they just keep, the animation world. It's just, it just keeps. I think it just keeps getting better and better as far as like, the visual graphics and stuff. Now, obviously you can't beat story. Story has to come first, no
yeah.
matter who's animating it. But
Well, you know what? Keep doing the good work, brother, and keep adding character to these amazing animated stories that we're seeing. And I look forward to seeing this film when it's ready.
oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me on, David, and it's been a pleasure.
This was fun, man. Thanks again.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
Cheers. And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.